All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. So today we have some breaking news. Paramount Global has secured exclusive U.S. media rights for the Ultimate Fighting Championship events in a 7-year deal valued at $7.7 billion. Now, they say exclusive U.S. media rights, and everyone knows the UFC is an American company, so I don't know how this applies to the rest of the world because a few countries have their own streaming rights deals, so I guess we'll figure that out as it goes along. But yeah, starting in 2026, all 43 UFC live events will stream on Paramount Plus with select marquee fights simulcast on CBS. Now, I'm assuming these ones they're talking about are probably the numbered events, like the former pay-per-views or whatever. So yeah, I guess we'll wait and see. This agreement eliminates the traditional pay-per-view model, providing access to events without additional fees. Now, when I first seen this announcement, I was shocked. Like when I woke up this morning, I was like, what the hell? Because if you remember, they tried to do a deal with Netflix. I'm pretty sure they tried to do like the whole like all fight nights and pay-per-views. Netflix was like, we've seen the Apex cards. We've seen the Poirier and the Bilal cards. Like what you've been trying to justify paying $90 for it. Like that's slop. We're not paying $1 billion for that. Like, are you out of your mind? And the UFC, they're probably like, oh, you guys are fucking idiots. But it's nice to see someone actually make the UFC take a bit of accountability because they literally have no competition. So yeah, it's nice to see that they shut down the UFC in that sense because like that's the thing. It's like that meme. You can't keep getting away with this. Like literally. So then I'm pretty sure they went back to the ESPN Plus and they're like, okay, let's try to renegotiate. And I guess for whatever reason, obviously they did not come to a deal that the UFC wanted. And I'm glad about it too because I feel like a lot of the ESPN shows and all that, like a lot of the casting was piss poor, like a lot of boring people up there. And I feel like a lot of the shows and a lot of the interviewers and all that, they're just really lazy. And I don't know how much of an effect that ESPN has or the streaming rights deal like company has on the piss poor production of the UFC, meaning like no promotion, no effort, no nothing. So hopefully with Paramount, there'll be a new team with renewed energy and $7.7 billion. Better get something going, right? Better, like, it's just the minimum we're asking for. Like, you know, let's get these pre-fight interviews going. Like, I've made a bunch of videos on it, but like, get these main events, like, hype them up more, get more promotion, do like, you know, these face-offs, like interviews, like just one-on-one with like a Rogan or an Anik or someone, like back in the day with DC and John, like just these bare minimum things, right? That's all I ask. And yeah, so like I said, obviously they did not go with them. They went with Paramount. But the biggest thing that shocked me was the no pay-per-views. The no pay-per-views, I was like, whoa, because everyone expected that, like, the writing was on the wall. They were going to cancel pay-per-views eventually, but I just didn't think it would be this soon. The UFC pay-per-view model reminds me of, like, a receding hairline, man. It's like, you know, they're really proud about their pay-per-views. It's like, yeah, we're doing great. You know, big flowing locks and all that. Yeah, we're doing great. 1.3 million. Like, yeah. And then eventually they start getting a little insecure and in the denial phase where it's just like, they don't really want to be asked about it. They like you have to be pressuring the UFC like an Ariel or like a Luke Thomas to be like, all right, give us the answer. What's going on here? And then eventually they get on to like the pissy mode where they put on their hat. They get rid of any interviewer with a IQ above 3. And then just instead we get like, are you planning on winning tonight? And what's it like fighting in this city? And then the crowd's like, yeah! You know what I'm saying? So the UFC got rid of everybody to ask any question revolving accountability. So they're in complete denial. So it took, I don't know who ripped the hat off to see what we're working with, because that's the thing. They put the hat on, they want to deny. Eventually when that hat's been ripped off, because I'm sure a lot of people have been researching the pay-per-views, like me included. Like you see a lot of these cards that are like, you're asking $90 for that? What? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, it blew my mind. And yeah, so you try to find the pay-per-views, you can't find them. And then eventually, like I said, someone pulled the hat off and you see one strand of hair left. And it's like when you look at your friend, it's just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let it go, man. Let it go. The pay-per-views, like, they had to, like, threaten people, like, yeah, we got him. Like, they're trying to hunt Bin Laden. We got the guy who screamed. It's like, you know what I'm saying? And then, like, the fighters, you'd be like, yeah, I know you guys are probably going to stream it, but please pay for it. And then it's like, So yeah, they eventually shaved it off, clearly. They gave it up. And yeah, the truth will set you free. We knew the pay-per-view model was balding. You know what I'm saying? But like, I guess this goes to show how badly it was doing because, yeah, like I said, they're literally hiding it at all costs. They have no journalists who ask any decent questions. So yeah, the UFC pay-per-view, in conclusion, is a receding hairline. Now, moving on. $7.7 billion. Now, I can sit here for forever and a day bitching about fighter pay and how much they can get more. That's not what I'm going to do here. In this video, I'm going to kind of talk about what I think that should be happening with this big change and this big deal. But like I said, it's probably not going to happen. But yeah, the UFC should definitely increase the bonuses. And that's the thing. A lot of people are like, let's double the bonuses, blah, 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 100 grand. Do you really think the UFC is going to do that? Like, come on. The UFC can have a multi-trillion-dollar deal and they're not going to do that. So, to me, I think bare minimum, bump up the bonuses to 75K, right? And not only that, I think there should be, because there's so much fucking bullshit when it comes to choosing who gets the bonus and who doesn't, there needs to be a flat finish bonus. Have a finish bonus and the fight of the night and maybe like performance of the night. But there needs to be a bare minimum finish bonus. I don't know how they're going to work that out, but yeah, maybe a finish bonus is set at 50K and then maybe a fight of the night is a 75K thing, right? Like, I don't know. Like, figure that out, right? Another thing that I thought of, it's just like, the fighters aren't probably going to get a dime out of this fucking deal. And that's the thing. You remember, like, everyone and their dog was bitching about fighter pay for a while, especially with the whole Ngannou situation and all that. And Jake Paul brought light to it as well. It's like, you need to increase the fighter pay. But eventually people just stopped talking about it because it wasn't going to go anywhere. So to me, at this point, the fighters have to look at themselves in the mirror and be like, $7.7 billion and we're not going to get anything out of that. We need to unionize. We need to do something. So at the end of the day, the ball's in the fighters' court. Like, we can say whatever we want. Obviously, I'm fuck all. I don't matter. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a big YouTuber. But like, it's one thing when everyone's bitching about it. It's another thing when you see, like, you're starving in some shack and then you see the king eating a giant steak when you haven't eaten in 3 weeks. It's just like, are you going to try to take it or are you going to try to just suffer? You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's up to, and not only that, the UFC lawsuit, I think, didn't they settle or something like that? So, that's the thing. The UFC is not invincible when it comes to the law. So if you can find a case or whatever, I say the fighters should probably unionize because, yeah, the amount of, I don't know what the split is, but I know it's like grossly under what they should be because I think fighters are obviously the most underpaid athletes on the planet. But as far as like other UFC or organized promotions and all that, especially like NHL, NBA, like the profit margin and like the sharing with the athletes is a lot better than it is in the UFC. So hopefully that something comes out of that. Now, as far as the rest of what they're going to do, like I said, this should definitely change the sport. And in a real way, you know what I mean? Aside from just the money and all that, I think what they should be focusing on, fucking hell, is new weight classes. I think they need to take an honest, real look and look at what they got. So we'll start with the male weight classes, right? The UFC heavyweight division is dog shit, right? I've made videos about it. Everyone knows that the UFC heavyweight division is dog shit. To me, they need to increase the signing bonus of new heavyweights. You need to entice these people or cut the division, man. Either or. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I love Aspinall and I love heavyweight. But we can't have, like, 2 people in an entire division that actually can shuffle it up. And then the rest are kind of just, like, fat, out of shape, like, just there to take a paycheck kind of thing, right? And obviously I get they're not going to be able to compare to like an NFL or an NBA contract, right? The UFC just will never do that. But make it a bit more enticing so that we can get these better signs. Like, for example, the guy who they were trying to sign, they were trying to Pereira, or Adesanya Pereira, because Pereira beat Adesanya and then he went up and then he was like having all the success. I think this was before Ankalaev fight. I think it was Artem like Lobov or not Lobov. I think that's McGregor's thing. Vatikov or whatever, where he fought and beat him in kickboxing. They're trying to sign him, but they're like, yeah, kid, the best we can do is like 12-12. Like, that shit cannot fly anymore when you're making this kind of fucking money. Like, do not fuck around with this kind of thing, because that's the thing too. The UFC has not delivered on a lot of fights because of financial, right? They refuse to pay this person or give them what they want, so all these fights missed out on, right? Like, you didn't, for example, you didn't get the John Jones Ngannou one, right? You didn't get the John Jones Tom Aspinall one. And that's the thing, I don't know if that was majority of a money thing, because apparently they gave him the money and John just didn't want it. But there's a bunch of other options, or you know what I'm talking about, like instances where they didn't want to fork out the money, and it costed them with the relationship with that fighter. So like I said, yeah, more money to the fighters. And not only that, like I said, with the whole changing the sport thing, there needs to be new divisions. That's the thing. Like flyweight, I used to be like, get rid of flyweight or whatever. But I feel like flyweight's kind of coming back now. Like, you got the Joshua Van, and like a lot of people are recognizing the talent that the UFC flyweight division has. They just need to talk more and have better promotion. So yeah, hopefully, like I said, they can do that with them. But as far as new divisions, I've been saying this for a long time now. 165 is the most no-brainer decision that the UFC can make, like, since ever, right? You have all this money, you have a new broadcasting partner, you have another 6 months to figure out all the logistics till next year, and then debut the division next year, or maybe even, I don't know how they can do that. Maybe they have to wait to make all these big plays. So yeah, I think what they should do is introduce the 165-pound division, have let's say Makhachev beats JDM, and Topuria, I'd like Topuria to fight in the interim, but Topuria is just kind of like, doing his own kind of thing right now, so I don't know what he's going to be doing. But yeah, I'd like to have Topuria, let's say he keeps his belt, right? Makhachev keeps his belt, because this is too big to fuck around with. Yeah, we don't want double. Shut up. You know what I'm saying? Like, have them have the belt for another, few months or whatever, right? We need 55 champion going up to versus 70 champion. Makhachev versus Topuria. And even Dana White said that if Makhachev wins, it sets up that fight. So the welterweight division can chill out for a bit. The contenders can fight each other. Who cares? You have Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev going down for the 165-pound belt. Okay? Now, I don't know if they want to do this at the White House, because I said before in my White House video, I was like, you could do that. But it has to be Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria, right in the middle, 155 versus 170. So what happens is they fight for that belt. Whoever wins, so Makhachev ideally relinquishes his belt after the fact. Let's say he wins or whatever. That belt turns into 175 pounds. So it's 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85, and then 205 and 265. Another thing too, it's like, why not 195? There's not enough talent in those bigger weight classes, let's be honest. Another thing that I want to say though, heavyweight, get rid of the weight limit. What's the point of that? You know what I'm saying? Like, let's have these super giant like fighters and have these like kind of like pride, like we're just like, what the fuck? Like, look at this, the size of this guy. Like, let's have that going on, Like, the UFC heavyweight division, I get you want to have a uniform thing. It's just like, oh yeah, we have a number here, we blah, 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 right? But, like I said, the heavyweight division is in dire straits right now, and we need to do whatever we can to help this out. So yeah, get rid of that weight limit. Have anyone who wants to come in, go fight there. And then let's see, maybe we get some Goliaths coming in and actually entertain and actually aren't garbage at fighting. So, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens in that sense. But yeah, as far as that goes, like I said, I'm pretty sure they're probably going to have McGregor fight next year. Hence why he's in the pool. So they're probably like, look, we got the deal done, so now you can come back. So like I said, that conspiracy theory, if it's real that McGregor was put on ice for this, really pisses me off. But it is what it is. But yeah, in conclusion, like I said, it's great that the pay-per-view model is gone. But another thing, actually, yeah, just brought to my attention here. What are they going to do with the whole champions now? What's going to be the incentive in the contract, right? Because you have champions that it's like, and that's the thing. I remember a few champions on podcasts. It's like, fucking hell, the pay-per-view is nothing anymore. You know what I mean? Like, because DC and like Chael and all them back in the day, be like, oh my God, like that pay-per-view check when you got it after the fight. Whoo, Lord, like it was crazy. But now a lot of the fighters are like, yeah, I have the pay-per-view thing and I get fuck all for it. Like, you know what I mean? So I feel like they're going to have to compensate with some sort of, because the thing, it's one thing to just give them more money, but I feel like there has to be some sort of, what's the word for it? Whatever. Like something that implies that they're champion on their contract, because it's one thing to just get more money, like on a, you know, it's like, oh, we're going to bump you up a few million or whatever, but it has to be another thing on top of that. So maybe it's like, you know, per 100K views, you get this much, or streams like from Paramount. I don't know how they're going to work that out, but hopefully they figure that out, because, yeah, I feel like this deal, will it eliminate streaming entirely? No. I don't think streaming will ever go away, because you got to remember, too, this sport is a very young sport, right? Where a lot of the fan base is young, and they're watching either on their phones or something, like they'll stream or whatever. Like a lot of people, let's be honest, right? However, I feel like a lot of the guys who like have friends over or watch with their families and all that, and have to go through these streaming things and get shitty quality and all that, and like have a glitch. I feel like they're not like, you know what? I'll just cave in and get the Paramount, because it's like better quality, more reliable. And not only that, like they can have like their wife or kids watch like whatever shows, and even themselves, you know, they can watch whatever's on Paramount Plus. Like I don't have Paramount Plus, you know what I mean? I guess I'll look into it, but yeah, I feel like I said, it's not going to get rid of the streaming, but it'll definitely help it, right? Because there's people out there who would literally rather lose an arm and a leg than pay money for streaming. So they'll find it out on some Russian weird website, like, you know what I mean? So it's never going to go away completely, but I feel like this will definitely help the UFC retain official viewing numbers, because that's the thing. Like a lot of these streaming services, they're not going to tell them how many people pirated it. You know what I mean? So the UFC can have more of an accurate representation on their analytics, where it's just like, okay, we see this pay-per-view's doing dog shit, but we actually did really good on this card, and the pay-per-views are doing dog shit as well. So now that they have streaming, they can actually be like, okay, the fans really like whatever, Taporia or Drickus now, you know what I mean, as opposed to before, because we didn't have accurate numbers. So yeah, it's not a perfect fix, but it's a fix nonetheless. And yeah, I'm just really happy, because yeah, a lot of more of the casual fan base will get to see it. And I guess we'll go, this is Dana White's official statement on the whole thing. This historic deal with Paramount and CBS is incredible for UFC fans and our athletes. For the first time ever, fans in the US will have access to all UFC content without a pay-per-view model. Okay, so maybe it is just a US thing. Making it more affordable and accessible to view the greatest fights on a massive platform. This deal puts UFC amongst the biggest sports in the world. The exposure provided by the Paramount and CBS networks under this new structure is a huge win for our athletes and anyone who watches and loves the sport. And I agree, like, especially with this economy, like, you know what I mean? Trying to fork up $90 for, like, you know, barely one fight you care about. You know what I mean? Like, it adds up, man. So it's nice to see. Yeah, I'm skeptical. I'm really skeptical on the fact that, like, will Paramount get it in gear and be like, okay, let's actually try harder, because there is no competition. So it's like they really don't have to. And now that there's no pay-per-view, I don't know what the incentive is. Like, I don't know what their contract is. Like, maybe it's just like a certain amount of views. I don't know. But yeah. I am happy for the UFC, because this is good, because it's legitimizing the sport, because a lot of people are still like, oh, UFC, it's too barbaric. So to have them on these official platforms, it's cool to see. But yeah, I just hope the UFC card quality increases, and hopefully they have someone who's running all this, like in Paramount. Hopefully they actually are fans of the sport and not just, you know, soulless suits who just see dollar signs and nothing else. So yeah, but that's wishful thinking at the end of the day. But yeah. Let me know what you guys think about this deal. Let me know what you guys think that you want to change. What do you think the UFC should do with this newfound money? And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and peace.